All right, we are live. Welcome everybody to Sweetcast. We're getting back on the horse after a long week of fulfilling campaigns, and so it's good to be streaming again and posting videos, getting back to the regular schedule. Today we have two great guests, and we'll see if anybody else pops in. But why don't we first start with Jason Hunt? We've had him on the stream before. Jason, why don't you introduce yourself for us?
Oh, okay. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I am the editor of sci-fi4me.com, which is a multi-channel platform that covers all of the genre stuff, science fiction, fantasy, horror. We've got a number of programs here on YouTube and over on Twitch, and yeah, trying to cover everything all at once and be everywhere, looking at all of this stuff and trying to increase our coverage of comic books throughout the rest of this year and into 2020. So
Absolutely. And I know tonight we're going to talk a little bit about crowdfunding and sort of a unique angle with it. And Jason, we'll get into it for sure. But yeah, often it's like crowdfunding, we use it for comics, but it can be used for all sorts of things. And so, yeah, I don't know, kind of talk about that a little bit and maybe mull over a few ideas. So yeah, everybody in the chat, love to hear from you. If you have ideas or anything like that, when we get into this kind of stuff, it's always good to hear from everybody. And then we have David Furr. He's another returning guest. David, for those that don't know you yet, do you mind introducing yourself?
Who doesn't know me? Well, probably most people don't. So yes, David Furr. I am a writer and publisher. I work with Antarctic Press on a couple of titles currently. I've self-published a couple of titles as well. Got some new things coming up in 2020. But I guess you can say I'm best known for Frontier Graveyard, which is a self-publication book I did, and also Crimson Scorpion, which is a character in Exciting Comics, which is out by AP currently, which is actually the new book I'm promoting currently because Crimson Scorpion is going to his own series starting February of next year.
Nice. Very cool. And yeah, we want to talk about that for sure. Do you have, I know you said it's in previews. Is there a link to it? We can maybe, pass it, look it up. But.
Yeah. If you just Google Crimson Scorpion preview that.
All right. Yeah, I'll Google it. We'll take a look at it for sure. And I know I've seen a bit of Crimson Scorpion, and so there's some cool stuff there. Love what you're doing. Thanks. Lots of good stuff to talk about tonight.
I do have an image. Can I? I've not done this before. Can I share?
You should be able to. It's a share screen. I think it's the same on yours as mine, but right at the bottom, kind of center of the screen, share screen. And then you'll have to pick which screen. If you only have one, you'll still have to pick the one screen.
Oh, okay.
It's funny how it works.
Modern technology, right?
Yeah, and it's always the first couple times. I don't know, throws me off. I've got two screens now, and it does throw me off a little bit.
Oh, it's like choose all the windows you have open. I didn't know this is going to be rocket science. Here we go. Oh, wow. Does that show up?
There it is. Yep. Ooh, I love that cover. That's awesome.
So this is the ad, but it's also the cover art for our first issue. So it's been one of the best received stories in Exciting Comics. So AP was all excited about doing, pardon the pun, excited about doing its own, giving its series a try. So we're getting 3 issues, and if it does well, we'll keep it going.
Oh, that's cool.
So is this a revival of a character from before then?
No, so the background behind him, as far as how we created him, is when we started doing Exciting Comics, the idea was we were going to take a lot of public domain characters because Exciting Comics is actually a public domain title with a very similar logo to what you see there on the original book from the 40s. But there were some characters we wanted to use that we couldn't because they're not all public domain. So we just started coming up with a few of our own. We wanted to get someone who's kind of like a Blue Beetle, Spider-Man type character. Not really the bug theme, although we did end up with the bug theme as well, but just sort of that kind of lighthearted, everyday man type of guy who gets sucked into the superheroes. And so we brainstormed and we came up with this guy.
I love it. That cover is fantastic. I love that.
Thanks. That's the artist whose name is there, Joseph Olesko, drew that. And we also had David Hutchinson, do the colors for the cover. The regular colorist is Shannon Smith and Jerry Lou Smith, who they're already finished. The book is actually ready for print. We just got to wait for orders to come in so we can send it to Diamond.
Love it. That's awesome. I'm going to say hello to everyone in the chat here real quick. Now that we got a few people in here. Let's see. Sanchez Knights. Hello. Papa Kinasu. Welcome. Story time with Yane Zanzao. I always have to pause there for a minute. Hello. Bianca Fights the Zombies says, aloha, y'all. Cecil is love. Razmaz is here. Clint, go grab some glasses. Oh, they're calling this the glasses stream. Here we go.
Yeah, because
these are basically my prop glasses for.
Oh, okay.
Anytime I need to be a little bit more soy.
Now, if Peter Cimenti was in here, we'd all have to be wearing sunglasses.
That's right. That's his thing now.
It'd be the pizza stream. Yeah,
I love it. Let's see. Cam is here. Cam 1138 got his book today. Downcast in the mail is so cool. I don't know. It's such a neat thing. Experiencing when people get their books in the mail. And so I had to get back into Twitter and look at everyone posting books. It was so cool.
Yeah, I got to notice that mine's on its way. Haven't got it yet, though. Looking forward to it.
I
have to say, Clint, congratulations on getting the fulfillment done and the deliveries out. That's a big step. That I know that takes a lot of work, just packaging all of that stuff up and getting it out.
Thanks. Yeah, it was more work than I had thought, and I thought it was going to be a lot of work, but I thought I'm going to get this done before Thanksgiving. I started on technically Saturday. I mean, Friday I got a few things ready, and then the Saturday I really got into it and started doing it, and we got about a fifth of it done on that first day, and that it felt bad. Like it was a nice dent, but I was really hoping to get through more of it. It's awesome to be over with it. This morning we had the last batch of books and we brought them to the post office. So that was awesome to just get those out. The ball's out of my court. Feels good. Also kind of nerve-wracking. Now it's like reviews and making sure shipments get there in one piece, all that kind of stuff. So
I will say that, having had some campaigns that are successes and some that were failures, the nice thing about one failing is not having to worry about that.
Yeah, that's true.
It is a lot of work.
That's true. That's a benefit. I had a crowdfunding campaign for a trading card, and this wasn't really a trading card game. It was a card game, Arcade Fighter. I've talked about it several times on here. And that was a failure. It was a good learning experience. I might try it again someday. But part of me was really glad because I really don't think I understood the shipping costs at all. I was not charging enough for shipping. And so that would have, if I got funded, probably would have been bad. It would have wrecked me. So I'm kind of glad that it didn't. Now I have a little bit more experience. I think it would go a little bit better. Let's see. Robert Roberts is here in a disguise. Demented for Fun is here. Rise Again. That's Vaughn. Vaughn, you have the link if you're interested in jumping in, but no worries. Let's see. GPaz says, got my Downcast and read it. Great job with the book, Clint. Really appreciate that. Thank you. It's good to hear people reading it too. Really good. Cool. Demented for Fun says, my copy should be sitting in the mailbox. Getting close. Patrick Ty is here. Hello. Is there any reason people don't use the on-demand publishing services? That's a good question. I don't, because I did it with my novel and that was fine, but I really wanted to do offset printing rather than digital printing, and that, for me, that was a big reason. But there's nothing wrong with it necessarily. It's just,
well, you want to use the on-demand if you're doing like a print run of like few dozen, a few hundred, because you can't do offset really for less than 1,000 print run and have it be cost effective. So it's good to have for if you want to do something that's really, really small. Like I did earlier in the year a Mobster Graveyard variant campaign where we just literally printed what people wanted, and it was a small campaign. We printed up a few dozen covers, and so it was definitely less than 100. Which is fine for something like that, but that's really what the on-demand stuff is for.
Yeah, and you do get better pricing when it comes with offset printing. The bigger your print run is, like at some point you hit I don't know what the word is. You get better returns. You know what I mean? The more that you do. So like printing 2,000 books was it was a good spot to be in, as opposed to like 700 books. You know, offset printing makes much less sense. And so
the more you print, the more you get a break on the per item.
Yes.
Pricing. I've done. I haven't done any offset printing like that. I have done print on demand for the book that I wrote, but it was, it's just small potatoes. Or in terms of orders, we didn't do 1,000 or 5,000 or anything like that. I would imagine that with any kind of a comic or a graphic novel, especially with all of the color and the artwork, does offset printing look better? I mean, print on demand, I've heard some stories about some of that stuff not quite getting put together exactly the way it's supposed to. So,
I mean, I can only speak from my experience, but the novels that I had done printed on demand, I could tell that they weren't the same quality as novels I got from like Barnes and Noble or something, especially in the covers. And so I know that there are some really, really good digital printers that can supposedly do quality print jobs that are pretty darn close to offset printing. But generally speaking, offset printing has just been more of the industry standard for a longer period of time, though I know that that gap is closing a lot. And this gets controversial. I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, and it's a controversy.
But there are some hard facts you can deal with in that. And yes, digital printing can pretty much mimic offset, but to get a printer that does that, you're talking about a very expensive printer, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Some really good ones. The thing is it good enough? I've used a few different, I've only used one offset. I used Print Ninja for our very first graphic novel. Everything else I've done, I've used print on demand. I've used several that people would know. I've used, of course, Kablam. Their quality has gotten better over the years. The first time I used them was in 2013, and it was okay. But you could definitely tell that, this was not top line. I've done some stuff with them more recently that's definitely better. I've used Litho Ninja, which is a great place to use. They're out of Houston. Their quality is really good. And for the most part, I'd almost put it up next to offset. Unfortunately, they've gotten pretty expensive to do small print runs, so I can't recommend them for the price, but the quality I can. And then I've also used a small place out of, I think, Indiana called Kness. They do really good too, but again, there's that edge on offset. I'll tell you that the best printing I've seen, I need to research where they do their books, especially since they do some of mine. But whoever Antarctic Press uses, those books look, bar none when it comes to print quality. I definitely put them up next to anything like Image, or I think they look better than what Marvel and DC are putting out. And I do know those are offset. They do a lot of those in China, but they do actually have a printer here in the States as well.
It's funny you bring that up because I got, this is a Doug Ernst book here, Soul Finder Demons Match. I just got in the mail today. So it's kind of cool that we're both fulfilling at the same time. So all these books are coming out. And it said it was fulfilled by Antarctic Press. I don't know if it was printed through them or anything, but it was fun to see this.
What was the name of it?
Soul Finder Demons Match. It's kind of an Exorcist thing.
Okay, yeah, I've not heard of it. It's part of the lineup, but I mean, I'm just a creator. I definitely don't know all the titles they got.
Sure. Yeah, but it said it on the box. So, and I didn't know. I know.
Oh, wait a minute. Now, if they said fulfilled, there's a pretty good chance they didn't print it because they actually did that for Frontier Graveyard. I mean, originally ran it as a campaign back in 2014, but last year AP gave it a chance to try distributing it, and basically I had a lot of overstock, so they just listed in Diamond. So if you have a Frontier Graveyard from AP, all they did is just slap the barcode on what already had printed. So they may have done the same for Doug.
Yeah, could be. I've got to ask him a little bit more about it, but it got here in perfect condition, and so I'm reading it. I'm about halfway through. I want to try and read it so I can do a review. They're always biased reviews when I do reviews because I only review books that are by people that I know. So there you go.
It's funny because your boy Zach Meyer, he's almost the opposite because I saw a video. I think when he got Ethan's book, he was talking about the fact that he wasn't going to do reviews of books from friends of his, people that he knew, because he couldn't be unbiased. Right. You know, I think it's interesting how all of that kind of falls out with the various different ones of you guys, how you approach that kind of thing.
Yeah.
In terms of, you know, well, I am going to review it or I'm not going to review it, but everybody has the same rationale. Only it's it's right. The flip side. It's one or the other, but you're looking at it from the standpoint of your relationship to the creator. And you're both coming to completely different conclusions, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know that it's really that hard to be unbiased as far as what you think, because I've had plenty of my friends, tear my stuff and I've torn theirs, but it's doing it in a live, video, putting it out there for everyone to see. You feel kind of bad if it's, it's a good friend of yours and you're like, yeah, this art really could have been better or something like that.
Right. That's the thing is I feel like a part of what I want to do is always give some kind of constructive feedback. And the thing is, people just take it differently. So no matter what I said about Cyberfrog, people are going to be like, you're biased, and yeah. Okay. Same thing with Soulfinder Demons match. People are going to say you're biased. So I just want to get that off the table, but I still want to, have some opinions about it and talk about it. And, it does help to just, have stuff out there people can find. But on Cyberfrog, I had constructive feedback, and Soul Finder, I'm gonna find some constructive feedback, and they're in both cases they're pretty minor, but I think it's good, and that's what I want to when people read my book. I'd like to hear what they think. And speaking of, Max Santiago says, Clint, I got your book. Awesome. Glad you got it. Hope it's in really good shape. I've been really happy with those Gemini mailers so far. Everyone that showed pictures of them, they've been in pristine condition. So I hope that continues. Knock on wood. All right.
Did you print enough overage for damaged stuff? Do you take that into account?
Yeah. I tried to print enough so that I would have more for any damaged books, things like are lost in the mail, things like that. And then I also wanted to print more for the second campaign so that people, if they missed out on the first one, they'd still have a chance to get into the story with the number one. So I overprinted by around 500 copies. And so I'm hoping that that'll do the trick. We'll see. But I imagine that should probably be just fine. So, but yeah, I want to get into some crowdfunding. We'll look at the Crimson Scorpion here, and David, I think what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about crowdfunding, and then we'll try to strategically plan some commercial breaks, and you can give us a pitch for it and tell us everyone where to get it.
Sounds good.
We'll practice right now, though. David Furr, do you mind giving us a pitch and tell everyone where they can get Crimson Scorpion?
So Crimson Scorpion is an everyman story about a college professor who ends up with superpowers and really has no idea how to use them or what to do with them. It's available through Iron Network Press, and you can pre-order copies now in the current issue of Diamonds. Nice. Or previews through Diamonds.
Very good. Great job. Okay. All right. We're going to get into crowdfunding. I'm going to show this one off to Dormicom blog. Says, I got my Downcast books today. I really like the pacing of your writing. Thanks so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I love to hear what people think, good or bad. I appreciate it. That helps. All right, so crowdfunding. Jason, you're kind of wrestling with this idea of crowdfunding, but not for your typical physical, comic book or physical item.
Right.
Do you want to explain a little bit the groundwork? I think this is going to be interesting to a lot of people.
Well, one of the things that we've been looking at is, the fact that we're a site that's a lot like Bleeding Cool, Mary Sue, Ain't It Cool, Nerdist, all of these different sites that do what we do, covering all of this stuff with news and commentary. And When we came back, we took almost a year off, and when we came back in 2019, it's our 10th anniversary, and we did a lot of focus on video content because video was going to be the thing. And then video, of course, imploded because all of this, it turns out that Facebook had been lying about video was going to be the next thing, right? And we did customer surveys and market research, and a lot of people that were responding were saying we prefer written articles. We prefer to read our news. And so we had to do a little bit of a shift with our .com. And then, of course, Fangoria came back in a print, a quarterly print magazine. Or I think, maybe we need to do some sort of a print edition. So there's all of these different ideas that are kicking around. But for the most part, everything that we do is online. We have the video programs. We got about 10 programs that we do over on YouTube and Twitch. Besides gameplay over on Twitch, we've got 2 Star Wars shows. We got a Star Trek show. We've got a general news program. We've got a couple of discussion programs, and and a Doctor Who show. And all of that stuff is free, and it doesn't cost anything. We don't have any sponsors. We don't make any money off of it. And then, of course, we have the articles that we put over on the website. Now, none of this is anything that we'd sell. So when you're thinking about a crowdfunding project, what would we do? Because a lot of the ones that we see are things like the graphic novels and the comic books, or music albums, or that kind of thing where there's an actual physical product. Mm-hmm. And the transaction involves you give the money and you get a product, you get a thing, whether it's a book or a CD or something. And so the big thing for us is figuring out, okay, well, this is the stuff that we're doing already anyway, in terms of creating all of this content. So what incentives can we offer to put together some sort of a crowdfunding campaign? Because a lot of what we want to do in our next phase is expand on our live event coverage. Some of the people that watch our channel came to us when we live streamed from Star Wars Celebration, and we were the only site anywhere that was live streaming from the floor of McCormick Center on the Thursday, day one of Celebration, because the Star Wars channel didn't start until Friday. So we were the only ones that were streaming. Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers was there, but he couldn't get a signal inside the building. And everybody was watching us because we were the only ones that were getting a signal out. And we've live streamed coverage of Worldcon. And, we're the only ones that have ever done it when it was here in Kansas City. And that took a little bit of time for people to wrap their heads around what we did, because we were actually there covering it like a network would cover a political convention or a sporting event, where you have the people in the booth, you've got the reporters out on the floor and whatnot. And we had a pretty big setup there. We ended up doing 53 different interviews with authors and editors and artists at Worldcon. And people were asking us, is this the new model? And this is something that we'd like to expand to do. But of course, it costs money. And that either means sponsors or crowdfunding for the most part. So now we've got to figure out, well, how do we make that work? What do we offer to incentivize and to make it worthwhile for people to put money into this thing? And yeah, Robert, we did launch the mugs over the weekend, and that's a little thing, but I frequently run into imposter syndrome when I think about, we could put a T-shirt or a mug or something out there. It's like, in the very next second, my next thought is, well, nobody's going to want to buy that, because who are we? We're just some little tiny channel podunk in the middle of nowhere. And, so I talk myself out of a lot of things.
Well, so have you figured out, I think this is a really hard thing to figure out, and that is how much money do you need? do you have an idea or a ballpark of what your budget is? Not necessarily saying like tell us, but do you have a good idea?
Well, not really. I mean, a lot of it just depends. Originally, the idea that I had for an Indiegogo campaign would be something around, $1,500 or $2,000, something manageable, something small, mainly to finance and make it possible for us to travel to some of these events. I mean, we get press passes for things like C2E2, for example. We were able to go our first year this past year, and we got press passes again for 2020. So that's going to cost money for us to go there and get hotel and travel and all of that. We're hoping to go to Anaheim for Celebration again. There's a number of events that we would like to cover throughout the year, and all of those things cost money. Now, the ideal scenario would be that we'd get advertisers who could sponsor our trips. And in our live stream, just like with a TV network, our coverage is brought to you by, X and so and Y and Z and 1, 2, 3. But we haven't been able to get that put together yet.
Yeah. I like the idea of selling advertising space, or slots, I guess. I don't know. This is an idea I'd want to float, but I think Matthew Fowler was watching here a minute ago, but he reached out to me a while ago and he sent me an ad to put in Downcast. He sent me some like original art and other things. And so that helped. And I was like, yeah, man, let's put your ad in my book. And so it made me realize, hey, I should be putting my ad in places. You know what I mean? Not just YouTube.
And we put an ad. We did a quarter-page ad in 3 different issues of Alterna here not too long ago. So we were in Red Koi. We were in I can't remember the other 2, but we did a quarter-page ad when we actually got the inside cover, which we weren't planning for. It was a very good placement for us. But I don't know that we got any results off of it. But it's only 3 months. It's only 3 books.
Right.
For something like that, you've got to be doing that kind of thing consistently for at least 6 months before you see anything that's worth tracking. And that, again, that's an expense that you get into. And
yeah, I've tried some print advertising and comics. Now they've all been like really small press, other Kickstarter things like that. And for like a one-time deal, you don't really get much traction on that. Now, it might be different if you're like in Cyberfrog or you had an ad in a Batman book or something like that. But I tend to agree with you. If you're going to do something like Alterna, I think you want to keep it going for a while so people get used to it.
Yeah. Well, and there used to be ads in comic books all the time. It's not an unprecedented thing. And, for us, doing that kind of thing makes a certain amount of sense because, that's the audience that we want to draw from in terms of, who's our demographic, who's our target market. And that's the other part of the equation that kind of gets a little wibbly wobbly because, we're not just 18 to 24 males who read comic books because, we're in science fiction and we're in fantasy and we're in horror and we're in movies, TV and books and comics and video games. So there's all these different things that we cover as an aspect of what we do. And that makes it a little bit harder for us to pin down, okay, this is what we do. And the live event coverage is where I would really like to hang our hats. Mm-hmm. But it's, manpower and money and resources and time and that sort of thing all kind of factor into that. So
do you have, when you do stuff like that, do you have a way to calculate the views that you're getting? Like I know here when I'm live streaming, I can see that right now there's 51 people watching and then, that kind of thing.
And it's the same thing for us. Whenever we do any kind of a live stream, it's essentially this same kind of thing, only we're doing it from a remote location rather than from here in the studio. So we take Generally, I'll take my entire rig wherever we go. So, for Planet Comic Con or for Worldcon, I've got the desktop, I've got the monitors, I've got the cameras, all the lights and everything. And as long as you have good internet signal, and that's a key piece of that, as long as you've got good internet, then you can do the stream. And it's the same as if you're doing it from home. Now, for Celebration, I did the entire stream from my cell phone because we were wandering around the floor, and people would pop in and they'd say, "Oh, hey, what was that over there in that booth? Go back to the Lego booth. Go back to the Funko booth. Let's see this other thing. Oh, hey, who is that over there in that costume?" And so we were able to just kind of wander around and not be tethered to a booth or a space or anything like that. So we're able to do both.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of getting my mind going on, I don't know, some possible ideas. And of course, anybody in the chat, if you have ideas on, something, that's part of the problem is that when you're crowdfunding, you're giving something for something. It's not just like, hey, we're raising money. I mean, I guess that would be like GoFundMe. Yeah. But I think it's a lot more effective, and it makes everyone feel good about the transaction, when there's something for something. And so for something like this, raising the money that you need, obviously getting the budget figured out is tough, exactly, what it should be. But then there's also, what are the perks that people are offered? And so
that's the big thing is, because you guys have the pogs and the stickers and the trading cards and all these other things. And, I don't have an artist. I don't have, we've got a few people here that have done graphic design, but, and I've put together some desktop wallpaper art, but, that's a little thing. That's, I guess I minimize my own talent at some of this because.
Well, I mean, Quint and I don't have a staff artist that works for us. If we want an artist, we have to go find one for a project. So you could definitely, network with Clint, people like myself, and just go on Facebook and find an artist to do something that you wanted to do. It's just a matter of what is it you want to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I even think of, Alterna Comics sometimes, he did the Alterna expansion relatively recently, and that's another example of, it's not like, hey, we're publishing this new book. I mean, luckily he had books, and so that was part of the thing, but he made hats, he made t-shirts, I believe. I'm trying to remember what else he did. Hats and t-shirts, mugs, I think, things like that. And yeah, it is, there's a logo there. There's the branding, I guess, that he's selling. But I don't know. I guess for me, I'm thinking, what are some of the strong suits of your website, or your ability to do streams and things like that. And to me, it's getting, I don't know, as a creator, like having my book talked about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so to me, like ad space is appealing. I don't know how much of that you could sell. You probably have to limit it, you know what I mean? And then figure out what time frames people want. There are all sorts of logistics that would be a totally different problem, but that might be one to consider, I think.
Well, and we have, the affiliate marketing stuff, where we run banner ads and that kind of thing on the website. But of course, that depends on people actually clicking those and buying whatever that product is and the transactions. And we've got a discount code over at Superhero Stuff. So, if you buy stuff over there and you use the code, you get 10% off. And eventually we get a piece of that, but they have to get to a certain dollar amount threshold before they give us anything. So it's all of this stuff is kind of out there, and it's functioning, and it's percolating in the background, but we don't see any of it until you get to a certain point. Like for YouTube, you've got to get to $100 in the AdSense revenue before you get any kind of check from them. So it kind of it builds. So, and we have, I could show, like one of these artwork piece is one of these desktop wallpapers. If anybody wants to see that, I can look
Sure,
here.
yeah. I think that'd be good. While you're looking, and then I was also thinking maybe we should look up your website too. And I think a big thing this goes for anybody that's crowdfunding is just finding what it is that you do well. You know what I mean? What it is that you're offering to the table, and trying to I guess figure out how you can leverage that. Now this is cool. I like that quite a bit.
So and basically, I'm just like, well, how do we put something together? What do we offer that it's unique? These are some different designs that I've done, and it doesn't take a whole lot of effort on my part. It doesn't cost me anything, and it's something that maybe somebody would like to have on their computer screen or whatever. But it's a little thing, and it's one of those things where, again, you get into that point where, is anybody going to like this? Is that anything? Is that worth anything? You start to question yourself on everything because we've been doing this for 10 years and we're pretty much still at the same point that we were all the way at the beginning. So
yeah. Well, I mean, another thing I'm thinking about is so this is a big fear. I hear people say this all the time is like, do I have enough people interested in what I have? You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I really think that building a mailing list does two things. One, it's obviously getting people that might be interested in your product, but it's also feedback that there's some number of people that are interested in bagging it perhaps. And so I don't know, you could float maybe some ideas of a few things that probably take some brainstorming. It looks like Jason disappeared though. Let's see if he pops back.
Technical difficulty?
Yeah, probably. We'll see. Here he is.
Sorry, hit the wrong button.
You're good. Welcome back. It's all good. Yeah, I was just saying, so building a mailing list is helpful because it helps you also gauge the interest level in your crowdfunding campaign and what it is that you're bringing to the table.
Yeah. And we have the newsletter. If you go in, there's a couple of different places where you can sign up for it. It's a MailChimp thing.
Cool.
And we've got currently 44 on that list. And some of those have signed up through the survey. Some of them have signed up through, being out at one of the events that we show up at, and we've got the list. You just write your name and your email address if you want to sign up. So, it's one of those things where, okay, well, now what do I put in the newsletter?
Right.
So there's always okay, what happens next? What do we do next? What's the next thing to try to, one, keep the people that you've got, but then also get new people and then keep them. So
right. Yeah, that's tough, man. I was just having this discussion earlier today with a few creators, and that's how often do you email your mailing list? I don't know that I'm doing it right, but I don't send out emails very often. So like I might, the downside is I might be losing people, but I'm like, I won't spam you. That's true. I won't.
I've tried to limit it to once a month, but even then, I mean, you listen to all of the different experts and say, well, do it this many times or do it this many times. And none of them agree on what the most effective way to do email lists or, how many videos do you upload to YouTube per day or any of that stuff. So it's a challenge.
It seems to change too. Like, I don't know if it was the same all the time and it was just this true science, then that would be one thing, but it's not. It just another layer of difficulty. So right now I'm going to pull up your website, sci-fi4me.com, and that's the number 4. And let's take a look at it, and I don't know, maybe we can brainstorm a little bit more. I find that fun, kind of, to especially with crowdfunding. And so anybody that has any suggestions in the chat as well, feel free. We'll share this. While I'm getting geared up though, David, do you mind giving us a little pitch for the Crimson Scorpion? I know we've been dropping the link in the chat to Preview World crimsonscorpion.com for people to check it out. Why don't you give us a little pitch for this?
Yeah, so Crimson Scorpion is a superhero story about a college professor who ends up with superpowers and isn't quite sure what to do with them. But he also ends up with an enemy, someone who he thought he'd accidentally gotten killed, who ends up with the same powers. This person does know what to do with his, and he's after the Crimson Scorpion.
Very cool. And mods have been doing a good job of posting that in the chat. Appreciate it, everyone. So do check it out, and that'll be going through the direct market to your local comic shop. So yeah, it's a good time to order.
Yep. Next few weeks, and after that, you'll just have to hope your store got it.
Right. That's how it goes. All right, I've got this is sci-fi4me.com pulled up right now. I'm just going to look at it a little bit. I'm curious. Jason, do you get analytics for this? Like how many people are coming and visiting the site?
I do, and it's not a lot. It's one of the reasons we went dark about October of 2017 because most of our traffic, about 90% at the time, was bots, and the analytics. Yeah, again, and that's another one of those things where none of it agrees. Google Analytics will tell me one thing, WordPress Analytics tells me something else. The analytics within Jetstream as part of the theme that we use, that tells me something else. So it's really hard to take a look and see, okay, exactly where we sit. But one of the things that we've run into is the fact that we don't have a whole lot of traffic to the .com, and it's been pointed out we spend so much time and effort focusing on our video content that the .com has kind of fallen by the wayside. As you see, the last thing that I posted was November 23rd with the gaming awards, and one of the things that I'd like to do, and of course this comes back to a manpower thing, is having the people, because we're all volunteer, nobody gets paid, and that's something that I would like to change as well. But to be able to have a regular staff of contributors who can write news articles, commentary, book reviews, movie reviews, and that sort of thing that can go here and live on this site. And then of course we can pull in our video from the YouTube channel or from wherever it is that we're going to live after COPPA implodes everything.
Right.
But having something here that's a good mix for everything that we do. So we're still looking for that balance of what it looks like, what it's supposed to look like. And analytics, unless you know exactly how to read them, then it's, they, like I said, they never match. I look at, for our YouTube channel, for example, one place tells us we have 1,240 subscribers. Another place tells us we have 1,246 subscribers. Another place tells us we have 1,250 subscribers.
Yeah.
So which one is it? And they're all YouTube telling me this.
Yeah.
So it's, YouTube Studio tells me one thing. The YouTube Studio app tells me another. YouTube Classic Creator tells me something else.
Yeah.
So none of it's accurate.
Right.
And then Google Analytics tells me something completely different. So it's,
Well, this is one of those things, like if you're focusing on the YouTube, I'm certainly know a little bit more about YouTube than I do about a .com, website. But I'm no expert, and I'll be the first to admit that. And so, so I'm looking at some of your videos here, and I think, so are you posting daily? Is that the goal now, or to?
We don't do daily. The H2O podcast is every Monday night at 8 live, unless we change the schedule to accommodate me being on somebody else's stream. And then we have our other programs are every other week. So our Star Wars program is on the second and fourth Monday, and Ranker Pits on the second and fourth Friday. Triple Bites is on the first and third Tuesday. Tartar Sauce is the second and fourth Wednesdays. We try to keep a regular schedule.
Yeah.
But given that there's only 5 of us, it's hard for us to plan to do every show every week. So we spread it out a little bit so the workload is not overwhelming.
Right. Yeah. The one thing I can say that really, really helped my channel, and again, I'm not necessarily the best person to be talking about this, but the regular video, just short videos, I know that they're a totally different format, but they really act as an engine to help your YouTube channel grow, and it's this huge difference. I see
people. I've been thinking about that because all of you guys that I watch do a bunch of different, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And then of course, Ethan's doing the 4-hour streams.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, somewhere in between there's that sweet spot that is going to make things work. And I've actually thought about taking the concept of Good Morning Multiverse, which is our Saturday morning news and interview show, and doing a daily piece that's like a 5-minute news brief type of thing where it's just basically, okay, here's what happened today.
Yeah.
And then, taking all of that and then taking that and using that to build the Saturday morning thing, because Saturday morning's an hour.
Yeah.
And, I try to have, and I need to get back into that better, to do more interview segments in that show, because that's essentially our genre version of Good Morning America.
Right.
Where here are the news headlines from the week. Here's everything that you missed for the week. And we're going to do some interviews. And we've been able to do some really good ones. We talked to Z Chun about TKO Studios. I've been trying to get Peter Samiti on. We talked to a couple of creators who have been in Alterna publications, and we've talked to authors. We've talked to various different people there about a different range of topics. So it's easy for us to slot that in right there and have 1 or 2 interview segments as part of that show.
Yeah.
But of course, you've got to line that up. You've got to contact the people. You've got to schedule it and make sure it's going to work, and make sure that your technology is going to cooperate with you. I don't know how many times where everything's working, all of the cameras are on, every system is green lights everywhere, and as soon as I hit stream, the entire thing crashes.
Right.
So it's just one of those things.
This is I don't know, like if I've said this before too, but if I figured out how to do here I go. They're saying, remind me, hit the subscribe button. Yes, I will. Thanks, Jason Black. This is one of those things. I think of like Nick Rekieta's channel. He's so good at making his live streams grow, and I can't figure it out. Like I cannot duplicate what it is that he does. He's just super good at it, but his live streams just continue to grow, and he gets new people in, and there's probably a variety of reasons why he can do that. Generally speaking, I think this is the case for most people. I know it's true for me, and live streams seem to be like basically speaking to the audience that I already have. And then when I do videos, the percentage wise, I'm reaching a lot more people that are not subscribed yet.
Right.
And so it really helps to get new people in. What I would say, this is just a suggestion, take it or leave it. But if you committed to doing a month and you figure out how you can talk about, timely things that are going on in, science fiction, whatever, kinds of things you'd want to talk about, and just decide that you're going to do it for a month straight and do it at least like 4 days a week. I know that sounds like a lot, but if you did that for a month, it would be a really good way to gauge how much traction you can get with the YouTube channel, and that's just organically. And that would help massively for crowdfunding, for all sorts of things.
Right. And the other part of that too is balancing, finding the balance between news and commentary, because one of the things that I've tried to keep us focused on is, if we're doing news, then we have to be completely objective as much as possible and not skew it. Kind of like what John Trent's doing over at Bounding into Comics.
Yeah.
Even though there's still some commentary at the end of those, I'm trying to keep it to where here's the news, just the facts. We're Joe Friday.
Yeah.
And when we have opinion pieces, whether it's a review or some sort of a commentary or some of our podcasts, there needs to be a clear delineation. And when we did our survey, there was one question that overwhelmingly everybody that answered the survey said there has to be a clear delineation between news and opinion. And that's something that I've tried to keep really, really, segmented between the two, because anybody could do anger media, outrage media. I mean, you look at, the Fandom Menace and, those guys, and, it's a lot of we don't like, we're angry about, and it's not all the time, but it's also not sustainable. And it's not something, I don't want to get into being outrage media, because everybody's doing that right now. You can complain about anything all you want on online.
Yeah.
Eventually it gets old.
Right.
And
that's why I agree that I think there's a space for that. And there is a need for just straight news on YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, you look at Bleeding Cool, you look at the Mary Sue, you look at IO9, they have clearly staked out a political position and an agenda in how they present their news. And they're not objective. And they don't pretend to be objective sometimes. I mean, you look at Anime News Network pretends to be objective, but they're not. Everybody's got their biases.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that, as long as it's in the opinion pieces and not the news pieces.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you're going with, the basic journalistic standards that have existed for years that seem to be ignored even by, a lot of the mainstream major news corporations and sites. But if you're sticking with those and you're doing straight news, I think personally that is a good place to be. That's something that people want. I've seen the good examples. I'm trying to think of one. I know my wife's over there, but she watches. It's actually on Instagram, I think, and it's this News Minute thing. And of course, there's always bias in news, always. But like, if you're specifically going in there and your goal is to just report the news, you're still going to get a different kind of news, as opposed to if your goal is to have an opinion. And I'll be totally honest, that's all I do is opinion. I try to be fair from my perspective, but yeah, it's not, this is not a straight news channel. But and that's one of the reasons why I think there could be. Yeah, go ahead, David.
Yeah, I was going to say, so I think, and this is my opinion, but with a lot of observation, you're looking at two different things here: how to make your YouTube channel successful and how to make your website successful. But they can go very well hand in hand. And what makes each one successful does not have to necessarily be the same thing.
Right.
When people are watching or a video or they're listening to a podcast, the information is actually secondary. Even if that's the main reason they're turning in, if you're going back to someplace over and over again to watch or listen, again, this is talking about the sensory perception. You're being bombarded. Your eyes, your ears are engaged. That engages more of your brain. It's more distracting. It needs to be entertaining. I mean, that's really all it comes down to, is how entertaining is the news you're giving in that format. Now on a website where you're just reading text, having just really solid information doesn't have, obviously it should be well written, but doesn't necessarily have to be like exciting. It just needs to be like to the point. It could be to the point, it could be very factual. People know that I want to know about what's going on with the new Star Wars spoiler. I go to your site and you just give me the basic facts. That's good. But when they're going to watch it in a YouTube video, if you're just kind of reciting some basic information, that's all they're getting, they're going to tune out. I mean, you look at all these channels that explode overnight, whether it's humor or outrage or whatever it is, there's something about it that's just fun to watch.
And it's funny, it's hard to define, but some of it is, especially on YouTube, and that is like just getting to know the creator. And like I'll be honest, I don't really consider myself all that entertaining. I've tried sometimes, but but there's something with just being human and connecting with people somehow. And I know that seems like it totally flies in the face of news. But I think of someone like Tim Pool, who obviously he has his own biases, but he's one that
those.
What's that?
And he admits to those. He actually uses that as part of his thing.
Right. But he's still talking about news items, and I think what makes him compelling is not necessarily his opinion on things. I think it has more to do with that he humanizes it, and he seems like a guy that I would talk to, he just like a guy next door or something.
Yeah, that is true. If you watch a channel where you listen to a radio show and the person sounds like they're talking to you as a person, it's like you're hanging out almost.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a lot of I think these, talk show hosts, whether they're just like a AM morning show, local show or whatever, that are successful because people start listening to them and they feel as if they know the person.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the other thing is, again, just from my own personal experience, is like, there's just so much trial and error to figure out what works for you. And the only way to do that is just to be posting a lot.
Right.
And so if your team is, if you can find a way to post even a lot of shorter videos, I think it's a worthwhile experiment, even again, just for a month, and just to see what happens. And that might take a little bit of planning and, but I don't know. It's one of those things like you kind of get in the groove and you expect like, I'm going to be doing this at this time every day. Sure. Or, if you've got a team of people and you say, hey, you've got Monday, that's your zone. You're going to be making a 10-minute video every Monday for the next month, right. Then that really helps you figure out what people like about your channel versus all the other channels out there. But I think you're onto something though with going for the straight news angle. That is something that is desperately missing, I think, from this niche.
Yeah, and as someone who, I do enjoy these kind of sites. If I'm going to a site for news, I really just want someone to tell me what's going on. I don't want the opinion pieces, or I don't want a really drawn out article that gets into every single facet. I'm just kind of like, hey, new information about what Star Trek is doing now. I'm like, okay, what is that information?
It almost gets annoying when it's written out for some reason. I read really cool articles and there's this like tongue in cheek, like trying to be silly. And it's like, come on, man. I'm just trying to like find out what's going on. Whereas for some reason on YouTube, it's a little different,
Yeah, we're like, again, you're engaging more of your senses. Yeah. So since you're demanding more from your audience, you got to give them more. You got to give them that little catch.
Well, and video is more personality driven. I mean, or any kind of audio visual media, whether it's like you're talking about the morning show DJs, or Joe Pags or Rush Limbaugh or Meg Turney or whoever on YouTube. The personality is what engages people enough so they stick around long enough to get the information that you're trying to convey. And you look at all these statistics about people disengage from a video after the first 8 seconds or 17 seconds, or there's some ungodly small number that is, if you don't hook them right then you lose it. And you look at the analytics for a lot of videos, and I've been trying to find that sweet spot. Okay, how long is too long? And all of the research people keep saying, it doesn't matter how long it is, as long as it's engaging and it's entertaining and it's informative and it's interesting. And it could be a 10-minute podcast, it could be 45 minutes, it could be 2 hours. It doesn't matter, as long as people are engaged. And so it's really hard to figure, okay, well, this show needs to be this long and this show needs to be this long. But also, how do you present it? What is the personality of the person who's hosting the show? Is it a good fit? Mm. Are they coming across on camera pretty well? I mean, for our Star Wars show, McKenna is she's our second host for that show, and she really knows her stuff when it comes to Star Wars, and she's got a real good personality, and she comes across well on camera, and it's that whole thing has kind of gelled there, where she's got a little bit of a following, she's got the fans because she's got that show. And we do the stuff behind the scenes to make this, make it all look good with the graphics and the editing and whatnot. But that's her show, and people are coming to see her do that show, not like if I have to step in or and fill in for a time. It does much better when she's in front of the camera than I am, because she's much better looking than I am. Okay. But it's everything is personality. Everything is you have to know what you're talking about. I got to know your subject matter, but it's how you come across on camera. I'm very well aware of my deficiencies on that front, and again, the imposter syndrome comes in. I've been doing media for 30 years, and I still question myself. It's like, oh, okay, well, am I going to do this right? Am I doing this? Is anybody watching? Does anybody care about what we're doing here? But it almost feels like I've aged out, where all of this is a younger person's game at this point now, because I'm pushing 50, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around how to get this off the ground and running. So. Maybe if I just let all the 20-somethings do everything, and I just sit back in the back and.
I don't know. Let me show you something here real quick. I think this is I don't know. When I first got into YouTube, I kept thinking, I don't know. I just feel like I was missing. I'm not that charming or whatever. I kind of gotta go through these things. But what kind of helped me is I looked at some other really successful YouTube channels that didn't. I'm like, if that guy can do it, but let me show you this real quick. I probably have to share a little bit of the audio. I better not get a copyright strike. But this is a channel. I don't watch it a lot, but I was recommended like a couple of this guy's videos. Chills. He's got 4.58 million subscribers, which is just amazing. But his narration style, it's just terrible. I don't know how else to say it, but he makes it work. And like the comments in his comment section, like I only watched a couple videos, but I looked down and people are just roasting him for his, how he talks, but he's still, I don't understand it. He made it work, but it made me think, if this guy can do it, maybe I can. I'll watch a little bit. And this is, I don't know, a month ago. It's been probably a couple of years since I watched his video last, but I want to see if maybe he's improved a little bit. I'm going to play just a little bit of this just so you guys can hear what I'm talking about. We'll see how this goes. We'll probably get an ad. Yeah, of course, we're going to get an ad first. I'm going to skip it ASAP. Now, there we go.
Is everybody... See, I don't get the option of being able to skip ads on my desktop browser anymore.
Yeah.
And I get those 3-minute soap commercials. On
weird.
I don't know.
Maybe it's the browser you're using. I mean, I use Firefox.
I'm not sure. Okay, I had the wrong video before. It was, I don't know, a music video or something. I don't know what that was about, but listen to this guy's his speaking voice, and you tell me what you think. Here we go.
Spend some time in the comments section, because today I'm analyzing videos that are stressing people out big time. Number 14. This video will have you questioning how safe your food is if you live with roommates. Okay,
I don't want to play too much, but basically he just goes over creepy videos or just creepy stories.
Mm-hmm.
But the man, you can kind of hear the drop in his voice, like at the end of every sentence. And it gets so obnoxious to listen to over and over and over again. I don't know, people in the chat, if you watch this at all. But it's just laughable. And then this is just a random video. I'm just going to look down and see if anybody's talking about his voice. I don't know how long ago this was, but it's, I don't know. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Let's see. No, I don't know. I'm not seeing anything here yet, but people would roast him, but he just kept at it, and he's got to be making tons of money with
No.
these stupid videos.
Well, and some of that it could very well be it's an affectation. He's created a voice. A couple of other people that I know have distinctive delivery styles. Umbrella Guy has a very specific style that he does with his. You can definitely hear a difference in his pre-produced recorded videos as opposed to when he's on somebody's live stream. His voice completely changes. It's still there, but it's not that Umbrella Guy. Literature Devil is another one. Hero Hey, they all have very distinct ways of speaking, and some of that could be adopting a character. Some of it could be, well, I have to be on the microphone, on the camera, so I have to use my Randy Radio voice. That could be part of that as well.
Yeah.
That's something when I started in media all those years ago in college radio, that was one of the things where, the emphasis has always been on how you deliver your copy, how you deliver your personality, how you speak on a microphone is much different than how you are when you're talking to people just out in real life, general, back and forth.
Yeah.
So when it's just me, I have a different delivery style, a different pitch, different timbre of what my voice sounds like than what it sounds like when I'm in front of a microphone, because the mechanisms all change, because you want to make sure that you're not doing plosives and fricatives and all of this stuff. But I've internalized all of that, so it's hard to teach it to people.
Yeah.
Without going through the books and the pulling all of these notes out from 30 years ago. Yeah. But everybody has that kind of thing. You have a style. Clint, you've got a style on how you excuse me, how you do your bit here on camera, and how you talk to people and how you interact with your audience. And it's become your signature style. It becomes who you are. Yeah. As a personality on YouTube, and everybody's got that. Jeremy over the quartering, he's got his way of doing things. I think the internet would probably explode a little bit if Tim Pool did a video without his beanie.
Right.
Yeah. Everybody's got they got that thing, right? Yeah. So.
Yeah. For me, it's the balding. That's my thing. I did that on purpose, everyone.
Right.
But yeah, but like Jason Black makes a good point here. He says, "Oh yep, I've watched this guy." Speaking of, I think his name's Chills. The voice is over the top, but good, quick content if you're looking for spooky fun. And that, honestly, I think really boils it down to is what are people looking for? And I wish I knew exactly, what it is and how to sort of carve out that niche, but I don't know, you kind of work into it, you kind of settle into that niche, and I think the only way to do that is to be making content frequently, so you have a lot of stabs at it, to see what kind of things people like. And again, I'm no expert on this. My channel's really not that big, so I wish I could get better.
It's bigger than mine, so you're doing something right.
Yeah, well, I don't know, some months are better than others. That's for sure. Didn't help that I totally took a week off, but yeah. All right. Why don't we take a look? Goodness, it's 9:17 now. Why don't we take a look at Crimson Scorpion again? David's comic. Go ahead and give us a pitch for this again.
All right. So Crimson Scorpion is a story about a college professor who ends up with superpowers. What I'm trying to do with this story is it's not really realistic, as it's as realistic as any superhero story is, but I do try to take the take of like, hey, wait a minute, if Peter Parker really did end up with his powers, would he really be so competent with them so quickly? So I take this idea, this college professor, he has no intention of being a superhero. He ends up with these powers. He ends up in some very dangerous situations as a result of it. And he is a good, he's good in a fight because he does have powers, but he doesn't really know how to handle it. He doesn't have a fighting style. He doesn't have any strategy or anything like that, but he ends up usually fighting other people who do have those things, who know what they're doing. So, he's got to learn to, adapt, who he is and what he does around the fact that, he's just a guy who just happens to be a little faster and stronger than everyone else.
Nice. I like that. Again, I love the cover. I've read, I don't know if it was the same one, but I did read a script from you of Crimson Scorpion.
That would have been one of my, probably one of my exciting comic stories.
Probably. Yeah, it was a few months ago, but yeah, really, really fun stuff. So yeah, everyone check it out. This is on, I forget what it's called now. Crimson Scorpion. This is on previewworlds.com and it's in the catalog. So yeah, I posted the links. So all of the mods will repost it here.
So if you have a local comic shop, just tell them, it's in the previews for, February, which is out now. Just tell them to order some. Tell them to order a lot, actually. And actually, something you may tell your comic store, a little plug here. AP is doing a thing now where they do offer additional discounts for bundles. I forget what they call it. It's like, I can't remember they have a little catchy phrase for it. I forget what it is. Essentially, I think if a store will order 5 copies, they get an extra discount. And it's basically for every 5 they order, something like that. So,
very cool.
So let stores know.
Very cool. Yeah, and I think we're gonna sort of wrap the stream up a little bit. I just want to give everyone an update on Downcast, especially if you're new popping in. Everything is mailed. It's off. It's out of my court, except for the digital copies, which there really aren't that many of those. But I'm going to be sending out the digital copies probably in like a week or so. I just want to give everybody that got a physical copy a head start so that they can get it. And yeah, then I'll send out those digital ones. And then that's completely, the whole campaign at that point will have been fulfilled. I've already seen a ton of people posting on Twitter and sending me emails and messages through Indiegogo that you're getting the books. So it makes me feel good. I get this like nervous feeling like, what if I'm dropping off all of these packages at the post office and they just like burn them in the back or something? You know what I mean? Like,
yes, because that's exactly what the post office does. They just have a giant shredder and they're just taking your money and throwing it.
Like, oh, these ones. Yeah, we've got a special place from those.
You got to tip. That's the thing. You tip them when you put them in a package, and those actually go out.
Right. Yeah, that's the key. I don't know. It's just so strange. But I'm so happy to have them all out. Thanks everybody for that backed it. And I'll tell you, we are going to make it available again. I've already had several people asking about getting it because they missed out on the first campaign. I did overprinted so that there will be extra copies on the second campaign. So if you don't have the first book, fear not, you'll be able to get it in February. I don't have an exact date yet, but it's going to probably be early February. If I were to guess now, it'd probably be the Tuesday. Why not? I'm here. I'm just going to check real quick. Tuesday would be February 4th, that first Tuesday. That worked out well for me before, not in February. I did it in April. But I'm either probably going to do it on the 4th, 11th, or 18th, but the 4th is looking pretty good. We will see. But then that'll be posted. We're already working on Downcast 2. I've been seeing some pages come in from Nacho. And in fact, today I've been putting together the campaign. And so I'm going to try something a little bit different. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So thanks everybody that backed. Thank you for watching. Really appreciate it.
So Clint, let me ask you this real quick. What goes into your thought process on the different perks that are attached to your campaigns? Because I see, like I said, we see a lot of different types of things that people offer. Doug Tenable did all of this really fancy stuff. Ethan had, the one sheet posters and Meyer had some of that too. When you sit down and think about, okay, well, what can I offer along with the book? Are you researching these things, or is it just Well, I think I'll do stickers. I think I'll do a stamp. I think I'll do a poster. You know, it's just you're just coming up with it on your own, or are you looking into stuff?
Well, for some of the stretch goal stuff that I added, like the bookmark and the sticker, for those I just thought I like to have bookmarks. I go through bookmarks like crazy, and I know everyone in my family uses bookmarks, so I personally want a bookmark, and I love getting them with a campaign. So that's something I want to keep doing. I like it. A lot of people say they like trading cards. I don't know, like it's never been big for me, but part of that might be because I need to just make a little spot to put them so I can go back and look at them. That would be kind of fun. And maybe like a book or something I can stick them in. So, but a lot of people like trading cards, and so that's why I want to try doing trading cards. I have done a few polls in the past. I'm seriously considering doing pogs for this next campaign, just because I think that would be awesome. And I found a supplier that can also make like the slammers, if any of you were into pogs. Yeah, so I don't know, for me it's just nostalgia, it's just fun. And so yeah, those are some of the things I thought of. Something else I've been toying with is I really want to have this story that's sort of separate, and it's in addition to the regular Downcast story, and that would be the classified history of Strata, which is the floating city. But I don't know. I thought about printing it separately, and then it's like, how you're asking people to pay more and all that kind of stuff. So I'm actually considering putting it in the same book. So it'd be one book. You have the Downcast 2 story, and then you also have the secret history or the classified history of Strata within the same book. So you're just getting one book, but it's going to be thicker and have more stuff there. So I'm playing with that idea, but I do think like a big part of it for me is just asking people what they want.
Yeah, I think a backup story in the book is a good idea, because it gives you there's that sense of there's something more in this book, not just the second issue, but there's the second issue and then some. It's almost like special features on the DVD. Exactly,
and it is I think more economical putting it together. I'm doing it no matter what, but it's just a matter of, am I printing a separate book for it, or am I going to put it together? And then here, like Dark Admiral Marcher says, no pogs. And so, yeah, that's always good feedback. I floated the idea in one of my videos, and some people
I've toyed with the idea of a challenge coin, but I don't know if there would be any market for that, anything to that. I've had a couple of people that said that they were thinking about doing a challenge coin of some sort in their campaigns, but I don't know that that's a thing that anybody would want.
It seems like for the most part, people are coming for the books, at least from my perspective. And yeah, let us know for sure in the chats if you have opinions on that.
Tiddlywinks.
Tiddlywinks, nice.
Good tip.
Yeah, that's been a big one, is just they want the books. And so that's why, to me, I'm like, well, what can I add to the story? So yeah, having that backup story I think would be fun. But yeah, I don't know. It is fun to get stuff. I'm realizing as I get more of these books, crowdfunded books, it's kind of fun to have extras. I know posters have been. It seems like people like posters. So I'm considering that as well.
Incentive that you offer has got to have some real value. Some real value added to it. I mean, that's with me. I don't offer a lot of different stuff on mine. I usually I might do a print for people who like that. I always try to do something with art, try to do some original art, maybe sketches, things like that. People think that's cool. The trading cards is an interesting idea. Actually, I worked with an artist on my first campaign who had done Marvel cards, where, how they do those inserts where it's a sketch card, hand sketch.
Oh, yeah.
They'll do. And with him, we actually tried doing something kind of like that, where it was just like we take a little card and kind of sketch something up on it. That campaign did pretty decent, so maybe that's a good idea. Maybe I should go back and do that again. But that's cool because it's small, it's original art, and it doesn't take the artist anything. And you can make these, those cards is just out of some sort of card stock that draws really well, and maybe throw it in a plastic container, one of those little cards.
One thing that we did negotiate for when we were first put together a thing, and this was almost a year ago now, is at the top tier perk, the donor would get Tuckerized by names, authors that you would recognize. And we got we picked up 13 different authors who agreed to Tuckerize one of our donors in their next book. And this is a really cool thing. I mean, who wouldn't want to be, Tuckerized by somebody like a David Weber or a Greg Cox? You show up in a Star Trek book or a Dune novel, or what. I'm not saying that those are the ones we're doing, but at a certain level, you become a character in a book. And it's that.
I did that one with the same campaign. Actually, we did an alternate cover, and we were going to allow up to 4 people to be on the cover. We only had 1 taker, but we were offering it pretty high, so that one was a nice score. And what we did is we actually, since it was a horror theme, so what we did is we had the cast. Since we only got 1 backer to do it, but we wanted multiple characters on there. We put the art team as zombies attacking the guy who was the contributor.
Donor. Yep. That's a good idea.
Yeah, and posters, it seems like, original art. Skits Comics says, I want original art. We got collecting bonus artwork, posters. I'm just realizing a lot of people are collectors, and that's part of the fun, I guess, with crowdfunding too, is getting something that's a little bit unique, I guess, and it's the only place you're going to get it.
Yeah.
So I did the print with mine, which was a 6x9, 9x6 print, and that was cool. It's a beautiful print. At the same time, I'm wondering, like, would they rather have a poster that's folded? It can't be full size, but doing one that's folded, I'm not sure. But that would be one thing where I think I'd really want to float the idea and just do some polls online and see what people like.
Yeah.
Which is likely what I will do.
Some people like that, but if they're like me, their walls are probably already filled.
Right. That's the thing is, it's like, where do you put it? And
seriously. That's like a challenge for me every day. I'm like, where I could put this in an odd angle, maybe just nail it up here.
Yeah. And that's why, to me, it's like, I just love books, like getting the books, because I can put them away on a shelf or put them, in my long box or something, or up on my stand behind me. And that's, it's nice because I can look at them, I can move them around or store them, whatever I want to do. But you can't, books are, that's a lot to produce. So it's like, you got to find other things. So,
and in our case, we don't have a book, it's
right.
That, although we have talked about doing a fanzine format book and doing a run where basically we tie that in, take advantage of Alterna's printing partnership, where we design a zine, almost like in the olden days when they were, you print them on the mimeograph machine with the purple ink in your garage, and you mail them out to your 50 people that read them. Doing something like that, like every quarter, where we would, compile essays or commentary or interviews and actually have a physical book like Fangoria is doing now, and doing it in the style of, say, like a Starlog. Because Starlog for a lot of us here on staff, Starlog was the thing that informs everything how we do things.
Yeah,
and I think going back to a print book, we couldn't do it for news because news has to be right now, happening now.
Right.
But if you did the more deep dive essays and think pieces and maybe some short fiction and some different things like that, I think there could be a market for an actual printed physical book. But you don't have we don't have the brand recognition that Fangoria has, for example, or Cinefantastique or any of those magazines that have been out for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. So there's that challenge. What do we do that people will want to see, will want to read? And it's finding all of that. It's a constant challenge.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Yeah, I know the feeling. It's like I don't know, the chicken or the egg. You know what I mean? It's like, for me anyway, it's like I need credibility and recognition in order to make a comic and have enough people that are interested in it. At the same time, you don't get the recognition and the trust and all that kind of stuff when you haven't done anything, or you know, that's the way that it feels.
Well, and I've got a poster design that needs a coffee company sponsor in order for it to work. It's, you know, if the coffee dies, we riot, you know, kind of playing off of the Walking Dead thing. But we need a coffee company to tie into this thing, because it's not really a genre poster, but you know, it's we've made the thing on all of our shows for however long we've been doing this. We're fueled by coffee, and I would love to find a sponsor, you know, a coffee company to sponsor our shows, because we go through, you know, I mean, I've got some now. I'll probably do, you know, 8 or 9 cups a day. We go through it like it's going out of style, and it would be a perfect fit for us. But, you know, so it is what it is. I've got 30 pages of notes of everything that we could try, but you know, how do you find that thing that works? Right.
Yeah. And that is a hard question to answer. It's so much of trial and error and finding your, and I know that's so easy to say and so hard to do.
Yeah.
But you know, I want to keep my eye on you for sure.
I appreciate that.
I'm subscribed now to your YouTube channel. I've been, you know, I've read a few articles on your website, and so that's good stuff. Yeah, everybody check out Sci-Fi For Me. It's on YouTube, and it sounds like that's where a lot of the effort going forward is going to be. And then also,
if I could, one piece that I'm particularly proud of on that site is my interview with David McDonald, who was the editor of Starlog magazine for 27 years. He was the one who basically held that thing together up until the point where they went under. You know, we've managed to interview a number of writers for the magazine over the years, but getting a chance to talk to him about how that magazine operated and what his thinking was on running it it was a big privilege for me to be able to do that. So I'm proud of that article.
Nice. Cool. Yeah. I strongly suggest it. Everyone go check it out. Also, don't forget to check out The Crimson Scorpion by David Furr. Looking forward to that. Lots of good stuff coming. And I'm going to make sure I'll have a video for everybody tomorrow morning. I'm back on the horse. I'll be working on it. So yeah, thanks everybody. And I think we will end it off now. Bye all.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Clint.